Alright, hopefully I'm recording this time. This is my third time going through this. This is my Armattan Rooster frame that I just built. The purpose of this video is to talk about a couple things that I really just don't like about the frame. Other than, I do like it as a very sexy looking frame. And my build, I think, is pretty sexy build. This should be out through the top. I chose to go with a 4-in-1 ESC. It's a hobby wing stack. It's a hobby wing 4-in-1 ESC, 40 amps times 4, and then there's also this flight controller board on top. It also has the Tramp HV-VTX. I'm also using an XM Plus, which I haven't found where I want to put yet, because I wanted to solve the other problems first. Anyway, let's get to it. Very nice looking frame, very nice looking quadcopter. Unfortunately, I'm building this for somebody else, so I'm a little jealous that it's going away. First thing I want to point out, I do like it and I don't like it. This titanium cage around the camera is probably indestructible. I don't think that your camera's in any danger, unless you just hit something like right smack in the middle there somehow, at the right perfect angle. So yeah, I think there's a video of the manufacturers or the designers hitting this with a hammer and not successfully breaking it, and I believe that. But here's the downsides a little bit. The Chameleon had settable angle for your GoPro mount. Hero Session 5 fits just perfectly on there, but you're stuck with the angle that they chose. For me, I'm not, I spend half of my time crashing and trying to find my quad in the weeds. So the difference between an angle 2 degrees more or less or whatever is probably not going to make any difference to me, but it may be something that you want to change. Also, this camera sits a little bit lower in there than the Chameleon did, so that's definitely a plus. One thing I don't like about the new mount, is that I chose this Rotor Riot RunCam Swift 2 Rotor Riot Edition, of course. It's in there, it works just fine. The problem is that with this frame, there's only one screw on each side holding it in. Yeah, you can probably crank it down pretty good, but it's still just going to move really easily. So I suspect you'll always be fiddling with your angles, trying to get it back to where it was. And you say, hey Mike, why don't you just get one of the cameras that has the 3 holes, and then you can mount it into this little slide there. And yeah, I got one on order. I was just a little bit miffed that I had to order a different camera, and then now I can't use this one for this. So I think I have a Fox Ear Predator on order, and it has 3 holes there, and I'm guessing that it'll fit into this little slot right here that they've provided, and I'm guessing that you'll cinch it down there, and you won't have that problem. But I'd also like to point out, if you look at that, there's only a little bit of room there for it to move, so you're going to get probably that angle to about that angle. I mean, that's probably okay for most people, but it may not be okay for you. I don't know. I haven't flown this yet, so time will tell on that. Very pretty frame. The next thing I want to point out that I don't like, when you're building this, this back plate here comes and it's designed for a pigtail. You want to use a pigtail SMA on here. It comes with this rubber grommet and then 2 nylon spacers in there that kind of smash the rubber grommet into place. And at first I didn't have it tight enough down, and the antenna didn't quite connect the way it's supposed to, so I really had to crank this down in an uncomfortable amount of force, I felt anyway, to get enough room there so for that connector to make me confident that everything is connecting the way it's supposed to. But I'm not going to make that a negative. I was able to fix it. It's just I want you to know that, crank down on it a little bit more. Make sure that this is getting fully seated, because you don't want it to be marginal or not connected. While we're on the back plate, this frame comes with these 2 holes and these 2 little grommets and even an extra one, because I'll probably lose one day. So these just kind of smash into the little hole there, and then you put your antenna wires through, and I guess you could leave it like that. It also comes with these straws, and I guess you would cut this to the right length and kind of work it into there. My problem with this, I like that they provided an antenna mount, but if you put 2 straws in here, it said it's supposed to come with 3, I only got 2. That's no big deal. They're going to stick straight out like that, and that's not your ideal. It doesn't look good, and it's not your ideal for RF purposes, for reception. You want about a 90-degree angle. And when you push this to a 90-degree angle, it kind of binds that in there. And how are you going to keep it in place? So you have to either put a spacer in between, maybe some wire ties to hold them. But that concept kind of offends me a little bit. I was experimenting with this. Yeah, I did it backwards. So I just melted this a little bit with my heat gun. Kind of bent it into position. This might be okay. I'll probably have to glue that in there somehow so it doesn't just go whatever direction it wants. Or maybe it'll just stay, I doubt it. I'm going to experiment with this more, but it really shouldn't be this much of a hassle when you buy a nice frame like this. It's like, why do I have to be creative on that? The solution I like a lot better is whoever came up with this mount on the Chameleon. This is an additional, excuse me, it's an additional part you buy. I think I got it on the Armattan website for a couple bucks. It came with the straws. I think it came with different straws. Anyway, it's got a channel in there that the straw fits into. Not quite big enough, so when you clamp down on it, it squeezes the straw into position. And I tell you what, it's not going anywhere, and it's in the perfect position. This is a nice, elegant solution. This, not so elegant. You say, Mike, why don't you just use that mount on there? There's 2 screws. They don't fit. The different distance here is just a little bit different, so I can't use that. So somebody please make one. And I'm going to get rid of this garbage. Alright, the last thing about this frame I'm going to show you, and this is kind of a biggie, I think. This is... I'm going to pull the top plate off here so you can see what I'm talking about better. To me, this is an engineer saying, we got to get this thing out. People want to buy it. It's been a year since we had our last frame out. I'm not quite sure how I want to deal with this. So as you probably know, the Chameleon, or the Rooster has removable arms where the Chameleon didn't. These are a little thinner too, so it should be more aerodynamic. I'm good with that. I don't break arms very often. I tend to break other things, but the idea being here that you remove 2 screws, the arm slides out, you take your motors off, slide your new arm in, put your motors on, put these 2 screws in there. The screws go through the arm. Yes, I know that needs to be mounted. I'm not done quite with this frame, obviously. There's this plate on the top that holds these nuts into position that captures the screws, and then you're off to the races again. The problem is they've chosen to have an extra one here that they've sent. they've chosen these sunken nuts. I'm hoping you can see that okay. So how these work is they're a little wider on the top and they have a smaller portion there that's ridged. The idea being that this is supposed to press into your material. I don't know, be it carbon fiber, be it wood, plastic. Works great with wood, plastic, soft metals. Carbon fiber is not something that just likes to give way to things though, which is one of the things we love about it, but for this purpose it's working against us, because when you try to press these pieces in, and I've seen even on the manufacturer's video, it's on the manufacturer's website anyway, the guy's like, yeah, I had to tap those in with a hammer. And that's just not elegant. I chose to do mine, press mine in with a pair of pliers, which makes it all marred up and not good looking and not like the build I want to do. My end solution for them was to press it in with this giant C-clamp, which did a great job. But here's the problem. When you press something like this in, it's the purpose of the idea is that the material that you're pressing it into will give a little bit. Carbon fiber doesn't like to give, so what happens? Something has to give. I can show you that on all four of these, it delaminated the carbon a little bit. There it goes. Maybe you can see it. Take my word for it, that carbon is delaminated right there on all four positions. There's two more on the front that work like this. The other two are in the titanium, so it's not an issue. But these two, I have not pressed this one in yet, but I guarantee when I do so, it will delaminate the carbon. Now, structurally, that's all these are really doing is holding these nuts into place and getting a place for you to clamp the arms down. So structurally, especially delaminated, is probably not going to make any difference, but I just don't like the inelegance of that solution that they chose. I thought about maybe just replacing it with regular nuts, and then you have to fiddle with that. I like the idea of them being captured in there. I just don't like the way they chose to solve that problem. So hopefully in the next version they'll come up with a better idea for that. And I think that's it. I think that's what I have for you on this build and the things that I don't like. So this is what it looks like back together, how it's supposed to look. Honestly, I can't wait to go test fly this. I suspect it's going to fly pretty similar to the Chameleon that I have built. I've got the same motors and it's essentially the same build. So I suspect it'll be a pretty similar flyer, although the arms are a little bit thinner, so it's maybe more aerodynamic. Anyway, there you go. I did record video for this entire build. If you're interested in the parts that I put on this particular build, they should be a long list of them in the description box in the video. All of the links on my videos are, well, not all of them, but as many as I can make are affiliate links, so there'll be information about that. But I only link things that I have personally tested and recommend. So anyway, good day. I'll see you next time.